Summative review of Unit 1, Exploration and Colonization. Essential information. We started our unit looking at European exploration, focusing on Spain and Portugal. Both were looking for a better route to trade directly with Asia. Portugal founded a West African route to Asia, making it all the way to India in Greater Asian trade. Spain, starting in 1492 with Christopher Columbus, founded a western route to the Americas, looking for a western route to Asia. Columbus laid claim to the Caribbean islands, and the others will follow him and create New Spain, which will include Florida, southern parts of North America, Mesoamerica, down into South America, the area shaded in purple. Also entering the race later will be France and England. Beginning with Christopher Columbus in 1492, European exploration and colonization resulted in the redistribution of the world's population, as millions of people from Europe, voluntarily, and Africa, involuntarily, moved to the New World. It also initiated worldwide commercial expansion, as agricultural products were exchanged between the Americas and Europe. In time, colonization led to ideas of representative government and religious toleration that over several centuries would inspire similar transformation in other parts of the world. The most devastating impact of the Columbian Exchange was the introduction of deadly new diseases. The Indians lost their traditional territories and fell victim to diseases carried from Europe. These diseases included smallpox, measles, influenza, and typhus. In European-Indian relationships, there's much differences between the Europeans that settled in North America. Both Spain to the south, including Florida, and England, including the 13 colonies along the Atlantic coast, had violent conflicts over land with the natives. In contrast, France, which occupied the Great Lakes region, the St. Lawrence River, as well as the Mississippi River and the Ohio Valley region, had a more cooperative, trade-based relationship with the natives. The French also did not come in large-scale immigration patterns that would lead to conflict with the Native Americans. Their relationship was much more peaceful than the Spanish or the English. When you look at the 13 English colonies along the Atlantic coast, they're commonly divided into 3 colonial regions. This includes New England, including Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, the Middle Atlantic region, including New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and then finally the southern colonies, including Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. In the New England colonies, they were settled by Puritans seeking religious freedom from persecution in Europe. They formed a covenant community based on the principles of the Mayflower Compact and Puritan religious beliefs. Society was based on religious standing, and the Puritans grew increasingly intolerant of dissenters who challenged their belief in the connection between religion and government. Rhode Island was founded by dissenters, namely Roger Williams, fleeing persecution by Puritans in Massachusetts. The Puritans also saw economic opportunity and practiced a form of direct democracy, or Athenian democracy, through town meetings. New England developed an economy based on shipbuilding, fishing, lumbering, small-scale subsistence farming, and eventually manufacturing. The colonies prospered, reflecting the Puritans' strong belief in the values of hard work and thrift. In the Middle Atlantic region, it was settled primarily by English, Dutch, and German-speaking immigrants seeking religious freedom and economic opportunity. The region developed economies based on shipbuilding, small-scale farming, and trade. Cities such as New York and Philadelphia began to grow as seaports and commercial centers. The middle colonies were home to multiple religious groups, including the Quakers in Pennsylvania, the Huguenots and the Jews in New York, the Presbyterians in New Jersey, who generally believed in religious tolerance. These colonies had more flexible social structures and began to develop a middle class of skilled artisans, entrepreneurs or business owners, and small farmers. Because of their tolerance, the middle colonies incorporated a number of democratic principles that reflected the basic rights of Englishmen. Virginia and the other southern colonies were settled by people seeking economic opportunities. Jamestown, established in 1607, was founded by the Virginia Company of London as a business venture. It was the first permanent English settlement in North America. The Virginia House of Burgesses, established in the 1640s, was the first elected assembly in the New World, and it has operated continuously and is today known as the General Assembly. Wealthy planters played leading roles in representative colonial legislatures. Some of the early Virginia settlers were Cavaliers, English nobility who received large land grants in eastern Virginia from the king. Poor English immigrants also came seeking better lives as small farmers or artisans and settled in the Shenandoah Valley or western Virginia. As indentured servants, they were often poor people from England, Scotland, or Ireland who agreed to work on tobacco plantations for a period of time in return for their passage from Europe or relief from their debts. Southern colonies developed economies in the eastern coastal lowlands based on large plantations, and by lowlands we're talking about along the east, along the Chesapeake Bay of Virginia down into the Carolinas and into Georgia. These cash crops included tobacco, rice, and indigo for export to Europe. The growth of agriculture economy required cheap labor on a large scale. Some of the labor needs, especially in Virginia, were met by indentured servants, but most plantation labor needs eventually came to be filled by the forcible importation of Africans. The first Africans were brought against their will to Jamestown in 1619 to work on tobacco plantations. While some Africans worked as indentured servants, earned their freedom, and lived as free citizens during the colonial period, over time, larger and larger numbers of Africans were forcibly brought to the southern colonies. This is a map showing the African slave trade from the 1500s to the 1870s. You can see most of the African slaves are taken from the interior of Africa, shipped from West Africa to both South America, where the Portuguese had large sugar plantations. You also have the Spanish importing large numbers of slaves, and then here along the British North American coast, where the 13 colonies are, a large number of Africans also imported there as a labor source. This term Middle Passage is referring to the trip for Africans forced from Africa, sent to the New World to be laborers. The development of slavery-based agriculture in the South would eventually lead to conflict between the North and South and the American Civil War during the 1860s. Virginia and the southern colonies had a social structure based on family status and the ownership of land. Large landowners in the eastern lowlands dominated colonial government and society and maintained an allegiance to the Church of England and closer social ties to England than in any other colonies. In the Appalachian Mountains and the Shenandoah Valley, further inland, however, society was characterized by small subsistence farmers, hunters, and traders of Scots-Irish and English descent. To conclude, this is one of our Venn diagrams that we've done in class before. Notice the circles, including New England, are unique to New England: manufacturing, fishing, lumbering, belief in hard work and thrift. The circle including the Mid-Atlantic, unique to the Mid-Atlantic trade, seaports, commercial centers, entrepreneurs, and artisans. And of course the southern colonies with the economy, plantations, growing cash crops. Where it overlaps amongst all colonies included free enterprise, subsistence agriculture, and a belief in private ownership. Shipbuilding is in common between both New England and the middle colonies. The final diagram is a summary of what we've learned about each region: New England, Middle Atlantic, and Southern colonies. Please review this information as much as you like. Watch this material over again to master.